Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Well, let me tell you, my speech will be on the occasion of the play we are watching now in Egypt, which is called The Presidential Elections. Actually, I'm so grateful for media and for John for their speech. It really reflects what's going on in Egypt. We are living a play, but a very horrifying play, actually. The coup government in Egypt is calling for presidential elections. Whereas there is an elected president already existing, but we don't know where he is. Actually, Dr. Mohammed Morsi is the legitimate elected president. People ask, what's the solution for what's going on in Egypt? I say the solution is this man. This man, I would say, is the man of the century, not just the man of the year. Who is this man? He is the legitimate president of the Arab Republic of Egypt. He's the first elected president in the history of Egypt. We say the history of Egypt is around 7,000 years. In other words, he's the Barack Obama of Egypt. He's the Francois Hollande of Egypt. He's the elected president by the people of Egypt. So let's ask ourselves and all other honorable people of America and France, where is Barack Obama, where is Francois Hollande, and where is Dr. Mohammed Morsi? The answer will be as follows. Barack Obama is in the White House. Is in the White House doing his job as the President of the United States of America. Francois Hollande is in the Palais Champs-Élysées, where he's doing his job as the French president, as the President of Republic of France. But here comes the question: where is our president? Where's Mohammed Morsi? Where's Dr. Mohammed Morsi? Well, we don't know. Here's the surprise. We don't know. Actually now, in this moment, we don't know where is Dr. Mohammed Morsi. Our president was doing his job in the presidential palace, and all at once he disappeared with most of his assistants and counselors. In other words, they were kidnapped. By who? By the general commander of the army, who is also the minister of defense in the government that was working for the kidnapped president. What does that mean? Doesn't make any sense, does it? The army general commander who presented the oath of God to the president that he will abide with the constitution and law in front of his boss, and this boss was his president, whom he kidnapped. Now we don't know where he is in this very moment. And how about the Republican guards who get their orders directly from the president? No, they didn't listen. They didn't listen to the orders of their boss, of the president of Egypt, and violated their job description of protecting the president of Egypt. They also cheated on the people of Egypt who trusted them for protecting the president and who pay their salaries from their tax income, from their tax dues, I mean. What's the excuse? And what's the reason? They claim around 33 million people came down the streets and stayed in Tahrir squares for 6 hours, dancing and singing, calling for the removal of the president of office. They were trying to play the game, they were trying to play the same story of removing the previous president, Hosni Mubarak, who inherited the presidency 30 years ago from his ancestor, Anwar Sadat, and whom people revolted against for 18 days, when 800 people were killed and thousands were injured. While during the so-called 33 million revolution, people were totally protected by the police and military and resulted in no single blood drop. So what do we call that? A revolution or a coup? Since the 3rd of July, which was the date when the general commander kidnapped our elected president, since then, the people's security forces, whether police or army, have been killing, injuring, detaining demonstrators in the streets, who demand nothing but the return of the legitimacy and the outcomes of 5 consecutive elections. 9 months have passed and people are peacefully demonstrating in the streets on daily basis after the dispersal of the famous Rabaa and Nahda sit-ins through one of the worst massacres in the history of humanity, where thousands were killed in few hours. The people of Egypt are not giving in to the fact that our elected president is not there anymore. Statistics show scary numbers of fatalities and injuries, even more terrifying numbers of detainees with no charges or fair trials. And we had an example of Sarah's husband. All those crimes are taking place under the excuse of violating the law. What's that? What does that mean? What law are we talking about when the Constitution is suspended against the will of the majority who voted for the Constitution? What law that discriminates against the will of the majority in favor of the minority? What law gives the Army General Commander the right to erase people's democratic choices and use the country's own arms against the people who refuse the rule of the army? The man who ruled Egypt for only 1 year was taken out of office by the force of the military and not the force of ballot boxes. This man was about to work wonders for Egypt with regard to providing the poor people of Egypt their basic needs of food. All achievements on economic levels are proven by numbers, but there is no space for mentioning details now. This man was humble, simple, ethical. He would not accept any single bloodshed during his reign, but rather would accept being verbally humiliated day and night in all media outlets without even shutting a TV channel or detaining a journalist. This man would go pray in the mosque where all people would talk to him freely with no barriers. This man would stop his car driver to listen to an old lady in the street about a problem in her life that she needed help for, and he would respond instantly. This man was a unique ruler of this time. This man never tended to conspire against his political opponents or opposition, or else he would have never been kidnapped by the people who could not and will not survive with fair democracy that may deprive them from monetary unlawful interests. This man is rarely found in history and will never be found easily. This man may sacrifice his life along with his families to assess the meaning of the newly born democracy in Egypt for the generations to come. This man's name will be engraved in history as the president who endangered his life for securing the free choice of the people of his country, as well as securing prosperity and justice for all our descendants. Let me give you a little bio of the first elected president of Egypt, as quoted by my son through one of his Facebook posts. Dr. Morsi came out of poverty in a public educational and social system. Upon finishing his studies, he went to the United States and obtained his PhD from one of the major universities in the United States, University of Southern California. He excelled in academia, gaining an engineering PhD, publishing papers in scientific journals, and eventually winning a place teaching at the prestigious American university, California State University. And then he made history by becoming the first freely and fairly elected president in Egypt's entire history. To me, it seems like what Americans call the American dream, except I prefer to call it the Egyptian dream. Is this a person that could be called a terrorist? A final message that I would like to send to the European Union, where my country belongs to, France belongs to the European Union. If you would like to find a solution to the crisis in Egypt, you should not send your delegate, Baroness Catherine Ashton, to speak to any official representing the people of Egypt, but the legitimate president of the people of Egypt, which is Dr. Mohamed Morsi. Thank you.